Please welcome Srinivasan, General Manager, Dynamics 365 Enterprise Applications.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the Business Forward event, and I look forward to spending the next hour energizing you with what we have to share around Dynamics 365, in particular around the operations set of products, what we have for talent, expanding on talent and retail capabilities per se. So look forward to spending that time, and want to start with, obviously, the theme of this event, digital transformation. And if you look at what Satya said this morning, there's one constant in every business organization of today, and that is change. Change is pretty much what is driving a lot of behavior. And change comes from multiple aspects. It's societal impact. It basically comes from economic drivers, industry disruptors. Pretty much every organization today has some form of disruption going on through some startups, through some competition, through industry upheaval by itself. Take a few examples. Let's take retail. Retail is chock-a-block full of brick-and-mortar stores trying to find out how to stay current, how to have a business line that works for them. And if you look at a brick-and-mortar store in the US, they have to deal with multiple population sets. The baby boomers who are still busy figuring out the best value, using coupons, things of that sort. Whereas, the millennials, on the other hand, are looking for experience, looking for a great experience, looking for value, looking for brands. And hence, retailers are today dealing with being nimble-footed, not only having to deal with the new generation, but also having to deal with multiple customer types. So the fact of the matter for every organization is they need to innovate at pace. They have tons of data flowing through, like a lot of sessions referred to today. Making sense out of that data is hard. And a lot of the business processes, a lot of the disruption today is happening pretty much around the business processes that were taboo for CRM and ERP. The levels of automation that you're driving from these business processes today pretty much go to multiple data sources. Social feeds are common. Artificial intelligence is becoming the norm. You saw a lot of bots being talked about today. But joining of multiple data sets, joining of large pools of data, whether it be from IoT feeds per se, are what is driving business. Manufacturers are becoming more and more nimble-footed, putting intelligence into their products, and basically driving subscriptions. There is subscription-based business models among manufacturers becoming a norm. How do we help these business organizations in their digital transformation journey is pretty much what we want to talk about. Now, obviously, these four pillars are quite common. We've talked about it. But it's the unison of these pillars in terms of how you engage your customers, how you transform the products you offer to your customers through empowered employees, and basically processes and operations that basically help you bring it all together is kind of the secret sauce in many ways. So I think Judson talked about one of these examples, and I want to take some of these digital transformation examples and pretty much lay out what these business organizations did. So let's take Maersk Container Lines. I think you heard today that they have these refrigerated containers that are built and serviced. So they also repair these containers right close to where they ship from. So China and Chile are two main facilities. This is a company that did most of its manufacturing in Denmark about 10 years back. And now they do a few containers just to keep what they did from a design perspective. 90% of their manufacturing happens in China, and the rest happens in Chile, which is kind of a startup for them. If you look at the transformation, it is about clarity of data. It is about having common data across their manufacturing plants, across their engineering and design into manufacturing, into finance. That's basically what they've empowered themselves to do. And they've done that through being on the cloud, integrating data sources. So not only are they running operations, they basically have IoT feeds out of each of these containers so that they know what to service, how they're being run, and bring all that data together for more effective manufacturing, more effective customer service for their shipping lines themselves. So they don't just build containers for themselves, they build containers for others too. So the automation of processes is one part. It's basically having data through the life cycle correlated is what makes them unique in their industry and in terms of transformation. Now, another example I would take is Lifetime Products right here in the US. They build plastic products. They build things like tables, benches, slides for playgrounds. They're pretty much one of the leading manufacturers of blow-molded plastic products. They have manufacturing across the world, but what they've done is they've integrated their supply chain, their manufacturing, their financials, all in one, while not doing it as a monolith set of services. They're able to nimbly change processes as they need to meet the needs of their distribution supply chain. Remember that their products are provided through Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart, some of the most demanding retailers out there. So being cost aware, being quality aware is top of mind for Lifetime. And they've spent quite a bit of energy in making sure that they use a product right out of us. They look at the data insightfully and they stay current. One of the principles of digital transformation, in my mind, is also deploying solutions that you can stay current with the vendor. Oftentimes, if you look at what Satya talked about, AS400 systems or bespoke systems, these systems are hard to replace. I'm sure you have those in your organizations. It's pretty much a business transformation journey to replace them with something new. And to stay current requires design, requires intention. And that staying current is one part of digital transformation because vendors are able to bring technology atop your data at a pretty fast pace. And we can do that if you can stay current with our solutions. So Lifetime has done a pretty phenomenal job of staying current with us. A true testament to our vision is a customer by the name M-Kopa. They're a solar energy provider in Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. Total population in those three countries is about 140 million. Right now, they're connecting solar to houses. They've reached about 500,000 homes. They were at 400,000 homes about 4 months back when they went live with Dynamics 365. They're growing really fast. And they address about between 2.5 million to 3 million consumers. They basically touch their lives in ways that is very hard for us to understand in the Western world. So they basically have reached about 2% of population very fast, and they're growing quickly. So kerosene-based homes are now transforming to electricity. And the whole process of taking what is consumed, turning that into a bill, and then making it available on a mobile device for that consumer to see, because mobile is ubiquitous in Africa. Landlines are not. Infrastructure is hard to put in. So let's roll a video on M-Kopa and see that experience firsthand for you to see how digital transformation is changing lives. Can we roll the video, please?
Solar is about upgrading the lives of our customers, who are mostly low-income households who depend on kerosene lighting. So what M-Kopa does is creatively, innovatively combine technology, access to credit, and solar energy for 50 US cents a day. For that, we give them access to lighting, phone charging, radio, and TV, just for the exact same cost that they would spend daily on lighting with kerosene. M-Kopa recently passed the 500,000 household customer mark, which is approximately 2.5 million people. Because of the rapid growth of M-Kopa in the 6 years, we've also had a lot of complexity in our supply chain, logistics, financials, the different regulatory environments in those markets as well as the requirements for compliance and timely reporting, we felt that there was need for Mkopa to have a single platform that would help us consolidate our operations in all those markets. That is what led us to adopt Microsoft Dynamics 365. Over 95% of our business, technology-wise speaking, is actually run in the cloud. So we use a mix of the different capabilities of the cloud, and so this really increases our speed of execution, gives us ability to scale massively and to respond to the business requirements for quick execution and tremendous growth when there's a surge in customer demand. We are also able to have a very good, secure platform. Technology must be able to not only transform as the business transforms, but anticipate the changes in the business as far as possible.
What an incredible story of transformation for this organization in a very short period of time. They ran pretty much all their financials in Excel spreadsheets about a year back. They had about 20,000 consumers about 14 to 15 months back, and they're growing phenomenally, all the way from IoT on their solar devices to bills being generated in terms of consumption, and basically a mobile experience for paying just brings that journey together. Now, you also know the population you're dealing with, the consumption economics, how to optimize, how to reduce costs. One of the things that they have set themselves up for is to halve the daily cost that they have for their consumers. And just think of what it does for children in these homes to be educated under a real light. That's quite amazing. So business is evolving across the board, and a couple of stats stand out for me. Pretty much it is the volume of data that each of you as business organizations has to deal with. It's pretty much leading to how can you take this data and convert it to a cohesive customer experience, and a customer experience that keeps your business viable in a digitally transforming world. So I don't want to read through these stats, but by 2020, you should expect to have customer experience pretty much overtake price and product as a key differentiator. As the baby boomers start to adopt a lot of the millennial techniques, I know guys like Matt have a hard time taking on Twitter, but over time, I'm sure he will, and that will lead to the masses taking on customer experience pretty much well and truly. So want to preset with the slide that James had around Dynamics 365. It is a set of applications that are purpose-built that can be adopted one at a time, but they work cohesively together. And each of these applications is infused with intelligence, is infused with a number of these ingredients for digital transformation. And as you build your strategy for your organization, we are there for you in terms of lighting up and helping you transform as an organization. What I'm going to be focusing on is finance and operations, retail, and talent. We want to talk about retail first through the lens of one of the customers you saw in the morning, Michael Hill. They've got about 370 stores. They've got, of those 370 stores, I think they're pretty big in Canada. They have about 10 to 15 stores in the US and are pretty much growing here phenomenally. They're large in Australia and New Zealand. And for this customer, I think going from retail transactions to customer experiences is key. And to talk further about their journey, let's invite Matt Keys from Michael Hill, a big hand. He's flown all the way from Brisbane to talk about their story. Matt?
Thanks, sir.
Come on board.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Michael Hill. How you guys started. Do you want to talk about your organization?
We started in 1979 in a little country town in New Zealand. So Sir Michael started a jewelry store with his wife back then, and roll the clock forward. And we have 60 stores in New Zealand, so New Zealand's fully booked out with stores. Australia's probably, we're close with about 160 stores. And our growth markets being North America at the moment. So Canada's, as you said, Sri, going gangbusters. I think we're close to 75 stores. US, we're in a bit of a pause phase on growth. Just we're trying to figure out, we're dense in Chicago, so we're trying to figure out where is the next location that we go after density of stores. So it's been a great growth phase for the company. Online's slowly growing as well. Obviously buying jewellery online's a little bit different to fashion, but mindsets are changing, and as you mentioned, the millennials are changing the game with their shopping behaviour. So we're at the right time now to be looking at our channel as just one channel now. So whether it's online or stores, it's the customer channel for us. Mm-hmm. So that's the next phase of challenge for us, and obviously looking after all of the technology to support that. We've started that journey, but we've got some challenges ahead. But we can talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. So putting you on the spot, discretionary spend leads to growth for Michael Hill, and how do you stay relevant in this world where I can spend my money on other things other than jewelry?
Exactly. So it's not just a transaction anymore, Sri. Mm-hmm. So 18 months ago we put in Dynamics CRM. Mm-hmm. So we pooled a lot of customer data from many different legacy sources to get that one master of record, and empower marketing to move away from that batch and blast and newspaper, pure TV. We're running TV ads when people are too busy to watch television, and we're not reaching our customers in the right manner that's required today. So to stay relevant, we've just had to change our approach from in all areas of the business. So obviously marketing is one touch point, but a real key touch point for us is our sales professionals in the stores. They have a great relationship with every client that comes into the store, and in the past they tend to keep all that information in their little black books. But we've since CRM, we've opened that up, so all of that data now is getting captured as well. And what we're working really hard on is bridging the connect of online and our sales professionals with the same client, so both are always informed of those touch points. So we can suppress bulk emails when we know that customers do not want to be spoken to too frequently because they've already had interactions with some of the sales professionals in the stores. So we're able to do that because we've basically got all that in one platform now with CRM and with POS, with retail. So
awesome. So let's look through one of your experiences. Thank you, Matt.
No worries.
Thanks
Thank you,
for being here.
Okay, thank you.
And let's switch over to Matt Sheard, yet another Matt. Matt,
Thank you, Sri.
Do you want to walk
Thank
us
you,
through
Matt.
an experience of rich customer experiences, not just transactions at Michael Hill?
Yeah, certainly. So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be doing some of the demos for you for the remainder of the session. The particular scenario I'm going to focus on was a scenario that was increasingly evident for Michael Hill, and we heard Matt talk about being able to provide one channel for their customers. So the ability to be able to create a promotion within the back office application and surface that to either my point of sale or for my online customers was really important to them. The concept of set it, forget it, and still allow then my clienteling experience to be very comfortable for the sales associates. So whether that promotion was a discount percentage off, whether that promotion was a compounding, whether it was a mix and match, the flexibility to be able to create those different combinations was also very key and important to them. So let me step you through the scenario now, but first of all, I want to set the scene. It's Mother's Day coming up, very important day for everybody. So as we saw in the morning session, we're going to follow through that theme. And Dad's out shopping week before, walks into the Michael Hill store. Now, previously what we saw in the demo from Larissa earlier on, she was able to show you the beacon, she was able to download her app. Dad's still working out how this interwebs works on his flip phone, so he's not quite sure how to download that app, but still Michael Hill is very encouraging and wants these type of customers. So as he walks in, he's greeted by the sales associate. The sales associate then would have their device, and on the device is what you would see in front of you here on the screen. So just very quickly, I've got some real estate there where I can start to brand the device, giving that Michael Hill flavor, if you like. And if I scroll across, I also started to be presented with some typical transactions that I would perform. I've got some inventory transactions and I've got some point of sale transactions. So that's some navigation in and around the application from a sales associate standpoint. So the first thing the sales associate actually does is, good afternoon, sir, and they introduce one another. And Dad lets her know that his name is Chris. So she quickly types in Chris and finds him here, selects that customer account, and instantly notices there via the photo, yep, that looks like Chris, so we've made a positive identification. So from this morning's presentation, we did see things such as the recent purchases, we did see the wish list type capability, but what I want to draw your attention to in particular, these two areas over here on the right-hand side. You'll notice there that second last section called Ordered History. In here is where we start to see the whole omni-channel experience come together. So as a sales associate, not only am I seeing the orders that have been taken by Chris out of the store through cash and carry, but let's just assume he's created a transfer from another store, or alternatively, he's asked for a delivery from the DC. That transparency is available to me as a sales associate, and I've got full visibility into that information. Additionally, on the end there, you'll notice that Chris has actually been affiliated in Michael Hill as a VIP customer. And that VIP categorization could be based upon spend, it could be based upon a whole range of factors, but in this instance, we've actually marked him as a VIP. So very quickly there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add then Chris to the sale, and you'll notice then from my cart, I can start to see Chris presented. Here is where I want to share this device with Chris and start doing some clienteling. So now it's my job as the sales associate to work through the promotional activity. Chris mentions to me that he's interested in buying some sort of present for his wife for Mother's Day. So the first thing I'm going to do is start opening the catalog, standing side by side and browsing through our product range. I'll drop down here, and he's very interested in the ladies' watches. So in my category, I'm going to drive into that. Here's a view then of all the different categories of watches that are available. And he says to the sales associate, look, I'm really interested in the zirconia rose watch there. And, why not lash out? I'm going to go with the ladies' watch and the diamonds as well. So instantly the sales associate's able to select those and start to follow some common tasks that we see from an online shopping experience. Here I'm now starting to do some comparisons, side-by-side views of the actual products, and I'm able to share that with the customer. We're able to work through some of the features and then eliminate potentially which product we want and which one we don't. So Chris has decided that the cubic zirconia is probably not the one for him, but he is going to take this lady's diamond watch and has asked me to go and grab it so he can start to feel it and then see whether it'll actually be suitable for his lovely wife. In this instance, yes, he says, I'm going to go ahead with that. Let's then go and purchase it. We saw earlier on from the morning demonstration how the upsell on warranty can take place. But now what we actually see is this item in my cart. Very quickly, I'm able to share the screen still with Chris and show him, hey, listen, you're starting to take advantages of some of the promotions that we've got running in the store. As Mother's Day is coming up, we're offering a 15% discount across our watch range. Remembering from what I saw on the contact card of the customer, I've also noticed that he is a VIP customer. Incidentally, we're also running an additional promotion for VIP customers within Michael Hill, and that is if he purchases a second item in the bracelet range, he's actually going to get 50% off that item. So here is where I now start to do my upsell and cross-sell. But additionally, if I look down the bottom, what I'm seeing here from a sales associate standpoint is some recommended product information. Now, this is not static. This is not buy this product, get this product. It's starting to now bring in some of the machine learning capabilities where these recommendations are based upon key metrics and factors such as what has my purchase history been as an individual, or also within the region. What are other people looking at and what are other people buying? So these become very intelligent, these suggestions, and enable me to then add that to the sale. And when I do that, what I'll see from a cart standpoint, if we just drop down, I've got the full visibility there into the 15% Mother's Day discount, but more importantly, what I see is the VIP discount at 50%. So Dad's starting to feel very happy right now that he's going to provide Mum with some really good gifts. potentially a little broke for the rest of the week, but nevertheless, he's going to move through the process. So there's a scenario, Sri, of how we've been able to help Michael Hill Jeweler with using some of the core functionality and then presenting that to their sales associates.
So some of the basic transformation elements that I wanted to call out is this is integrated inventory management, integrated through the supply chain. So you do the pricing promotions in one place centrally, and it's available in all stores. Or it can be available in a region. You might have a Boxing Day in Australia that you surely do not have in the US. So having promotions regionally available at those stores without having the store associates have to muck around with it and have purchasing history drive you. Now, how many times do you go to a store and you're told, hey, you didn't buy this thing from us, you bought it from another store in XYZ place, and you tell them, hey, I went to the same brand. It happens quite often, and that's because you don't have integrated systems. That your systems keep loyalty and transaction history separate from the customer experience itself. So bringing all this together is a big part of what we're doing. So let's go forward from Michael Hill and look at what they've done. If you look at across the landscape of operations and retail and talent, they use finance and operations as well as retail. And I've just color-coded the parts that they use. They don't have to use every part of what we do. They can pick and choose even sub-parts of what is finance and operations. So they basically use a lot of their inventory management, accounts payables, receivables. So it's a simple configure experience for the business processes you need. And if you see, even within retail, they don't use our workforce management. They will over time, but they have chosen the parts that are relevant for them. Now let's dig a little further. Another part of digital transformation in stores and retail is allowing employees to manage their schedules and to bring a level of controlled collaboration at the store itself. So for that, I'd like to bring yet another retail customer on, Canada Goose, very coveted brand name. If you haven't bought one of their jackets, go into Nordstrom or one of their stores and absolutely pick up one for yourself. Their brand promise is one of high quality products and providing each customer the experience that they need. That's paramount to them. So to talk about Canada Goose, I'd like to bring forward Jacob Pat, their Vice President of Information Technology. Jacob, thanks for coming over.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So a little bit about Canada Goose.
Yeah, so a lot of you don't know. How many of you know what Canada Goose is? A lot of New Yorkers, I guess.
Awesome.
That's great. So a lot of you may not know that we were actually founded in 1957. And I know it's shown up in New York in the last couple of years, but we are, we've been a B2B model for most of our lives. And we've got into the direct-to-consumer business only in 2014 with e-commerce. And in April of 2015, we decided to place all our bets with Microsoft. We launched AX, and as a vertically integrated manufacturer, we essentially integrate everything from our sourcing all the way to retail through Dynamics. We opened our first 2 stores this past October and November. And one is in Toronto and one is in Soho. And for those of you that are looking for a Mother's Day gift, there's some great gifts at the Soho store, and we do have spring and shoulder season product. But all that being said, I'm going to start with some of the things I ask vendors, which scares a lot of vendors away. It's like, when you talk about digital transformation, it means a lot of things to different people, and for us, it means the ability to change and move quickly. So the first question that I ask is, can you do this in 90 days? A lot of vendors usually walk away at that point. And whether it's an enterprise app or whatever it is, that's a philosophy we've done to actually accelerate our implementation of enterprise-based applications. So what we've done is we've put Dynamics at the center of our business. We are a Microsoft shop through and through, so we use Power BI, Azure, Office 365, and we're a cloud-first company. So what it's allowed us to do is to focus less on the technology and focus more on the things that matter. And with Microsoft being at the center, one of the things that's been highlighted today, which I can't stress enough, is how modular the pieces are. So that's exactly what we're doing. We've taken pieces that were relevant to us, integrated with other systems, and it's been an extremely fruitful journey.
Thank you. So you said you pretty much described digital transformation really well. Now, on to you're on an older version, AX 2012,
right?
And you're in the process of rolling out to a lot of stores. You use our retail MPOS, the modern POS. What does that journey look like? And obviously, you're going to ask me that question. It's not 90 days; it's 30 days.
Yeah,
something
it's 30 days. So all jokes aside, it is 30 days. So one of the things is, so we invested in the older version of AX, and one thing is we've created a path working in collaboration with Microsoft and our partner to roll out 365 into our stores. We're going to have the system live in probably about 2 months. Mm-hmm. So as we look at this, it just comes back to the speed of integration. The 365 framework allowed us to integrate the pieces that we needed, relatively simple. And as you guys are my witness, we did it in about 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of this is the art of the possible, and it's like how flexible can you be? So that's been so we've gotten there.
Sure. So let's look at your workforce management piece.
Right.
And how important is managing, the store traffic, foot traffic itself? Let's say Mother's Day per se.
Extremely important. I mean, for us, we're a seasonal business. So I mean, we make, we have our peaks and valleys, but when we have our peaks, it's a massive peak. Mm-hmm. So we need to be able to, just make sure we have the right staff on floor and everything else, and we use intelligence to kind of help drive that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you very much.
So I think we set the context of how Canada Goose is going to do the workforce optimization in the store. Let's go right to the demo.
Sure. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Sri. So in my second demonstration, what I'm going to step you through is a challenge not only Canada Goose faced, but it's a challenge that any retailer today faces. And that challenge is, how do I really right-size my workforce in order to be able to provide great customer service to the folks that are walking through my store? So you heard Jacob talk about analytics helps drive a lot of those decision processes. So what you'll see in front of you here, and we'll just switch over to the main screen.
Yeah, switch over.
Here what we'll see is some branding in and around Canada Goose. You'll notice it looks very different from the Michael Hill side of things, so highly configurable for my sales associates. Now the first thing that Jacob mentioned was the ability to be able to drill down on analytics. So let me set the scene for you. It's Mother's Day. I'm looking at the schedule as a store manager, and I'm trying to identify very quickly, do I have some room within my workforce schedule to be able to add additional resources to be able to cater for that foot traffic? As Jacob said, it's seasonal traffic, so year-on-year sales growth is happening for these guys. So in addition then, they want to make sure that they capitalize on that by having the right people. The analytics that you see in front of you right now, I want you to focus on 2 particular areas for me. If we look at the middle section, and let's assume then I'm looking at a day-by-day breakup, and that full graph there in the box represents full capacity of my staff from a supervisor standpoint and from a manager standpoint. So on 510, you'll notice I'm sitting at about 50%. 511, hey, I'm a little under there in terms of supervisor or management on staff during that day. So instantly it tells me I've got to do something about this. Alternatively, if we take a look at the associate side of things, 511, hey, I'm looking pretty good. I've got 90% capacity there. And 512, I'm sitting at about 80, but actual Mother's Day 514, I'm sitting at about 40%. So again, I've got some visual indications as a store manager that it's time for me to do something and act upon that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my home screen, and here I'm going to share the experience of the store manager. And also, we'll start to bring into play some of the capabilities that we offer from a store associate standpoint. So how do we bridge that divide of that personal lifestyle and the professional lifestyle by using some of the mobile apps that we have available on Work Schedule?
Awesome.
Let me step you through that process. As a manager, I'm going to go into my schedule management. And I was talking about the week before Mother's Day. As I scroll back, here I'm looking at May 7th through to May 13th. So instantly what I can see here is that my schedule is in draft, if you look at that beside the date. Also visually what we've done is made it, highlighted it so it looks like it's in draft with the lines through the days. Going down the left-hand side, what we'll see there is the staff associates that I've got available to me. And I can also then start to see what days they're rostered on and for how many hours. So very quickly I can see, yeah, Aaron's on there, Eric's there, Ewan's there, Ivo, yep. Also, I can start to embed things like absence. So you'll notice there that Ivo's requested some absence from Tuesday the 9th right through to Friday the 12th. And that's becoming very visual to me on the scheduling board. Going back to our scenario, what I've decided is, look, I'm actually going to add Andrew in on the Monday schedule because I'm expecting some high level of traffic. So let me show you how that would look. If I go ahead and I click on that experience, I've got the option then to go in and add my work shift. By choosing my work shift here, I can say, look, you know what, Andrew, he's going to come in at 9 o'clock. I want him to finish at 5, and I'm basically going to get him to assist the front end. Typing skills, excuse me 1 second. But those notes just represent some of the tasks that I can communicate with Andrew on for this particular shift. In this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save that. So for me, I've added another shift on there. I'm quite happy with that week. I'm going to skip forward. I'm going to take a look at the actual Mother's Day week, and we saw that for the 14th, I was still under in terms of my schedule from a resource allocation standpoint. So, Andrew, buddy, I'm going to put you in on Mother's Day as well. So if I go into add shift, go over to 9 o'clock, start him at 5, I could put in some notes and then save that. I'm happy with this schedule right now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish it. So by choosing the publish option, it now tells me that that particular schedule is locked in and available for store associates. Now, let's think of the store associate experience. What would typically happen? Typically, the manager would print that out, pin it up on the board, people would walk through, go and look at their schedule, call up, when am I rostered on, how is that process going to work? So here's the scenario. And I'm going to switch over to my phone now.
And you're one of the store associates now.
I'm a store associate right now. So I'm at dinner. Dad leans over, tells me, don't forget Mother's Day, buddy. You better be here for the party. I've just suddenly gone, oh my goodness, I didn't actually schedule myself off or ask for a vacation day. So the first thing that I can actually do is go into my mobile app. In my mobile app, it takes me to my shifts. So I've just scrolled to the 14th to see if I was rostered on, and instantly what I see there is I'm actually rostered on from 9 to 5. Now, typical scenario would be, if that was just an email or a Word document, I'd call my manager, I'd request the time off. But here is now where we're bringing the digital world to the actual store associate. I'm going to select that particular shift, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually look and see if I can swap that out with one of my fellow employees. By using the swap shift option, I can then determine, well, who's actually got the day off and who's available. I can see that Ewan's there. Ewan's a buddy of mine. He won't mind. I'm going to suggest the swap shift here and then send the request. So in this instance now, I've been able to collaborate with my fellow colleagues, and I've been able to request and change shifts based upon what I've been scheduled on. I'm going to jump over now onto my second store associate. I'm going to be Ewan in this instance. I'm sitting in front of the TV, eating my Cheetos. I then get a message through the app. I see here, hey, there's a new request in there. So I go into the new request, and instantly I get, Ivo wants to swap their shift on May 14th from 9 to 5. So I actually pull that up, I take a look at the details, think to myself, you know what, okay, I'm going to go ahead with that. I accept it, I put in some notes, then I send for approval. And the note that I'm just going to let him know is that he actually owes me big time. I send for an approval. Now, from a sales associate standpoint, we've collaborated, we've made the request, now it goes back into the store manager's application for him or her to be able to make some changes, approve or reject. I'm actually going to go over here to the schedule requests, and in this instance what I can see, Evo's requested a shift swap. Who's he requesting the shift swap with? Okay, yeah, Ewan's okay, I'm fine with that. I'll add a note and I'll actually go ahead and approve. So that's the process then from workforce scheduling, bringing both the store manager, providing them with some analytics to make some core decisions, and giving the store associates the ability to collaborate with one another and remove that manual task.
So it's alleviating pressure from a store manager, allowing associates to collaborate, yet providing control in the hands of the store manager so that, you know, it doesn't go all haywire in terms of, you know, social collaboration among associates. You know, there's a way of gaming that can happen with these hours. So quite a simple scenario, but something that helps, you know, your associates stay connected, see their schedules, and be fully integrated with what's happening in the store. So super nice scenario. Let's go deep now into yet another. Before we go into the scenario, I just wanted to describe what Canada Goose uses. I think Jacob talked about this. Pick and choose the parts that make sense for them. And they use a lot of retail, but they are vertically integrated all the way from manufacturing, supply chain, into us. And we're looking forward to them using even more. Like he said, they pretty much use major portions of the Microsoft stack, and we look forward to them continuing their journey with us. Another customer that is quite unique in what they offer is it's a global social impact organization that is today in about 80 countries, serves about 140 countries, working on some really hard problems. Education for the girl child, poverty and hunger. They are donor-led projects. Some of the things that are super important for Chemonics is clarity of information to their donor population, knowing who they employ, because I think the employment workforce that they bring together is super specialized in the types of industries locations that they operate in. Language is important. So to talk more about Chemonics, I want to invite Eric Reading, their Executive Vice President. They've been an amazing partner for us, and look forward to the journey. Eric, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
How's the conference been?
It's been great.
So I'm not sure I did justice to Chemonics.
Sure. So as Sri said, Chemonics is an organization. Our mission is to promote meaningful change that help people live healthier, more productive, more independent lives. What that means is in the 80 countries that we're working in around the world, our staff, our teams of professionals, are working on some of the most difficult problems of how to alleviate hunger, food security, how to prevent famine, how to bring electricity, as you saw from the prior example, into poor homes in Africa that don't have it, how to bring essential medicines for people that have HIV, AIDS, or malaria, or how to prevent those diseases. Those sorts of large problems are what Chemonics does. But geography is very difficult for us. With our professionals spread all around the world, we're very decentralized. And a lot of our systems were set up at a time when telex or fax was the way that we communicated across offices. So our teams operate very independently, and collaboration across the organization is very difficult for us. We've brought in Office 365 recently to help with some of the basics of collaboration, but we're working now with Dynamics 365 to really empower those employees, consistent with Microsoft's mission, to really work together to be more productive and be able to collaborate both within their teams, but also across the geographies very effectively.
So we talked a couple of weeks back on how you're testing out, the experience in different places, Morocco, for example,
Yep.
Liberia.
Yep.
And you're doing this because you want centralized visibility.
Right.
How's the experience been in testing some of these experiences?
So far, it's been very good. We're using entirely a cloud-based version of Dynamics 365, and we've tested from places like Tunisia, Morocco, Afghanistan, the DRC. Around the world, we're getting quite good performance. We are looking at some alternatives for places where electricity is unreliable. Obviously, we have generators and UPSs in some of our offices, but mobile provides us a very, very good backup solution for when we do lose electricity in our offices. And we're excited about the possibility of working on the cloud in the places that we are, where the internet has really come to those places at the same time these cloud applications have really come to exist at the right time.
So DRC, let's talk about.
That's Dominican Republic rather than the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Congo. So
we've got a couple different
things.
DRs in our world.
So let's talk about the DR.
Yeah.
And adoption of talent.
Sure.
I think they're pretty much the first customer live on talent.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about talent?
Yeah, so really just a few weeks ago, Sri and I met in Seattle and talked about standing up talent within our organization. And we're in the phase right now that we're getting ready to stand up operations more broadly, but we have our our team set up for it in a pilot in the Dominican Republic that we're using. So we decided to set up the talent project in that Dominican Republic office. And in the matter of 21 days, we were able to stand up that product extremely quickly. There are a lot of great functions to help load data into it. We were really surprised by how quickly the employees were able to learn the product and be able to use it to be productive. And it's been a great experience.
Thank you, Eric. So let's look at some of your demos. Thanks for the partnership.
Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. So I'm going to take you through a bit of a talent demonstration. We saw some of that this morning where Larissa was focusing in and around the HR manager or the recruiting manager and stepping us through the process of the application process of creating the applicant, then going through the interview schedule, then going through the onboarding and hire process, and finally getting to the point of offering. I think the person we talked about earlier on this morning was Cameron. And Cameron was accounting manager within Chemonics. So I'm going to switch gears ever so slightly and press rewind a little and show you what it looks like from the applicant's experience using the mobile app. So I'm just going to work over here on my main phone. Through the life cycle and through the process of the hiring, through the application process, what I'm able to do is get scheduled emails sent through, identifying for me where I sit within the hiring process. So we found earlier on that Cameron was a good applicant through the LinkedIn search. He's actually then sent through his application. Now, all of us know somebody or have been in a situation where we've applied for a position, we apply for that position, and then sometimes we just don't hear anything back. Or it's been 6 weeks, and then somebody sends us a thank you, but no thank you. So that process becomes a very black hole, or a big black hole, if you like, for the applicant themselves. So stepping through the process, what we were able to see earlier this morning was the application was received. So Larissa was able to put that into Dynamics 365 for Talent. As an applicant, what I would receive then is this welcome email telling me that my application at Chemonics has been accepted. So when I click on that, instantly I get a personalized message sent through to me, and more importantly, I see a link here where it's encouraging me to click on this and work collaboratively through the process. Now, it uses my LinkedIn credentials, and I'm able to then log into Dynamics 365 for Talent, and here what I'm faced with is a list of applications that are currently active for me as a user. I'm able to drill down further on those to get a little bit more information in and around what this particular position is. So it could be looking at things such as the job description, the roles and responsibilities. So instantly for me, I'm now engaged in the process. I understand that my application has been received. I know that Chemonics is treating me very special in this interview process because I'm being kept up to date through my mobile device. Let's fast forward now. We saw Larissa earlier on do the scheduling of those interviewers. And let's see what that experience looks like now for Cameron. So I'm just going to go back. And you'll notice here I've got a second email telling me that my interview schedule for my accounting management position has actually been confirmed. So instantly what I can look at there on my mobile device is here are the interviewers, here's the start time, here's the end time, so it looks like I've got about an hour with each individual. And again, it's encouraging me to log back into Dynamics 365 for Talent, and then I can view some additional details. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll back to the screen here, and I'm going to go to the Activities tab. I could have clicked on that email and it would have taken me to the exact same place, but just through the demo, what I've done is just shown you this here, and you'll notice something very different. You'll notice that there's a LinkedIn icon beside each of the interviewers. So we've sort of talked about this process earlier on in our demonstrations, but here, what I have available to me as the applicant is that full drill down and collaboration against the interviewers. So it's setting me up for success here. I'm able to look at Hilda in this instance. I'm able to see where has Hilda worked before. Do we have any mutual connections? Can I reach out to somebody that I may know and get some insight so that when I do meet Hilda, I'm much more prepared through the interview cycle. Let's fast forward and let's step through the process now. I've been offered the position. I've now been told that I'm going to be receiving a welcome email encouraging me to be onboarded into Chemonics. So I'm going to go into my welcome email here. I'm going to click on my welcome guide. And in doing so, it's going to launch Dynamics 365 for Talent. It's going to ask me to sign in with my personal account. again using my LinkedIn credentials. And here what I'm going to start to see is the personalized welcome note that's coming through from Chemonics. I'm also going to be able to start working through some of the activities and the tasks that the organization wants me to start fulfilling through the process. Now, ultimately, I could be standing in front of my computer, I could be in the coffee shop, on my iPad device, or on my Surface device. I still have access to this information. So here you'll see the welcome email. I can start to work through that list, mark certain tasks as complete, prepare for the first day, learn about your new role, etc. So this is highly configurable, and these are the sorts of process that Chemonics wants to bring the applicant into very early.
So I also noticed that as Cameron, you're being welcomed into the organization because you know what's happening after your start date. The
Correct.
things you need to do, the organization is not some scary place for you as a new hire.
And it's prepping me while I'm going through this application process. So that first week is about hitting the ground running, as opposed to having to worry about, well, where do I find all these additional information about the organization.
Awesome.
All right, let's fast forward now. I'm going to switch back over onto my main PC here. Let's just assume that Cameron now, well, we can't assume, it's happened. Cameron's been hired. He's now an accounting manager within the Chemonics organization. And I wanted to share with you what that experience now looks like for him from a self-service portal aspect. Up on the screen here, what you can start to see is I've got a valid login. In that portal, then I can start to drill down on things such as, well, who are the people within my organization? I can suddenly start to see my direct reports. Then I can also start to look and analyze who my leadership team are. In the middle here, I've got some personal information in around how I want payroll to actually be processed. But more importantly, what I've got the provision of being able to do is drill down on benefits, go and take a look at some compliance training. But one of the things that I'll mention in this scenario, let's just say through the interview process, Cameron wanted to actually pre-negotiate some annual leave. And one of the conditions for him for joining the company was, hey, listen, I really want May 5th off. So therefore, we all agreed, and he gets May 5th off as a vacation. So the HR manager is called and said, hey, listen, Cameron, make sure you go and log that annual leave within the self-service portal.
It's not just Cameron. It was Matt Sheard back in 2009 too, negotiating with me about a bunch of things other than vacation. So
I did a good job of it too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to my self-service portal. I'm now going to click on my profile. Now I'm going to start to request some leave absence. By selecting that, it's going to launch for me an application. It's going to make it very simple for the user. It's going to make it very intuitive. I'm able to do such things as select what type of leave it is I want to perform. I'll then be able to put in things like what date, and also the number of hours are going to be listed for me as I move through that process. So here's my absence code. Sorry, Sri, go ahead.
So as he fills it out, one of the things I'd call out is this form looks a little different. Satya talked about process orchestration. This is a Power App. Instead of a normal form being brought up, this is a Power App that potentially could meet their needs in Dominican Republic with local regulatory requirements that might be there in that particular country. So very easy orchestration of the entities that exist with basically requests that you have to make.
I'm going to submit that request. That then, depending on my workflow, that may then be routed to a manager for me to approve that.
Yep.
That will then be deducted from his annual leave vacation balance. To round the demonstration out and to close off, I wanted to just show you some core analytics that come available to us.
You have to first close.
I have to close that, yeah. By selecting the Analytics tab, we'll now get some insight into some of the visual dashboards that are available from a talent standpoint. And very quickly, when that analytics refreshes, you'll start to see there that I've got 19 folks that are in my team. So it gives me a summary then of the total headcount. I can also start to see the team members and also their performance ratings. So visually, I've got an idea there of how many people I might need to manage on the team. Whether it's sent through some compliance training or add some additional skill level training, I've got the ability to be able to visualize that now. Here I can also see the skill types and the various levels that are available to me, but more importantly, here's my team member courses for self-education, and I've got full visibility into that.
Yep, that's awesome. So you land in an organization and you start to learn about your employees as well as their needs from day one rather than having to wait to talk to them. So it gives you a good grounding to get started. So let's Eric talked about another part. They're donor-driven. Clarity of information to donors is super important. So they run pretty much projects in different countries, and then having clarity of, of how money was spent, time was spent, and outcomes were met is super important. So let's look at the project-based execution side of the house. Let's start with the dashboard that Eric would see as an executive. If we can switch to the
we'll start with the main screen.
To the demo. So this is a dashboard that Eric can see across the landscape. So if you see it has different parts. It has project planning, project execution. It has workforce information. Some might be hard to read, but pretty much the things that matter to Eric, it's one single dashboard that he can wake up to every morning, look at it, either on his tablet or on his mobile device, just to get that information before he starts his workday.
Yeah.
So as Cameron, you are more focused on one of the projects, let's say something in Nigeria. So
Sure.
do you want to walk us through that experience?
Sure. So, like Sri said, there's the executive dashboard. Now what I want to do is drill in some additional details. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drill down into what we call our practice management workspace.
You want to refresh
now,
it?
Here I am now at the... No, this is fine.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Here I am now, and as a project manager, I'm starting to get more down into the transactional level and view some information about my projects. You'll notice there, I've got 2 projects that are sitting in the created status, and as Eric mentioned, these projects can range from health plans through to educational plans for countries all around the globe. So what I'm seeing here is some project summary information in terms of the various stages these projects are at. So one particular project I'm interested in, because I'm actually going to go to Project HQ in Nigeria, and I'm just going to go and see how things are tracking. So the first thing I want to do is highlight over here on the project Nigerian markets. You'll notice the stage is currently in process. I've got some budgetary figures there. I've got some annual revenue and my actual margins being represented. So from a cost and a revenue and a budget standpoint, I'm feeling pretty good and I'm feeling okay with that. I still don't have enough information for me, and I'll explain to you why. A lot of the programs that are being funded typically come from donors. So whether that's private enterprise or whether that's government, one of the things is transparency and the ability to track and report on the detail associated with those projects. And one of the good things is the more transparency and the more detail Chemonics can provide, it just offers additional opportunity for future funding on programs down the track. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my Nigerian market. When I do so, you'll notice that the analytics refreshes, telling me now I don't have anything in created, I've just got one project in status. You'll notice here where it is in terms of work complete versus billable hours. Still, I need some additional information, so clicking through on the Nigerian market here, it's now going to drive me down into the core application. So now we're starting to get very transactional, folks, in terms of viewing information. This is actually Dynamics 365 project contract screen, accessing it from the workbench. Here I can see the various funding types and the different donors that are making up this project. And I can also, from this snapshot view, get a view into the expense forecast that's actually been created. And if I scroll across here, I can see the different expense categories, along with what I'm expecting there in terms of a quantity and cost price.
I think one of the critical points in terms of digital transformation is having information in the hands of your end users on their eye line so that they don't make mistakes. So information in the form of analytics embedded right in the product. Oftentimes you will have your analytics be an alt-tab experience to another app. Look at that information and come back. Normal human behavior is, I think I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to alt-tab into some other system, and hence you end up making some mistakes. Now, what we are doing with Dynamics 365 is making analytics and information the driver to transacting. So
this sets us up nicely for the next part of the demonstration.
yes,
You heard me talk a little bit about I want to go and visit Nigerian Project HQ. So I'm leaving Seattle. It's an 8 to 10 hour flight. During the flight, what I'm doing is actually some consulting work, some PM work, getting myself prepared, and maybe there's some reports that I needed to write out for the Nigerian market project. So I take advantage of that time on the plane to be able to utilize my, some time for work. Now, one of the things that's very important to Chemonics, as I mentioned earlier on, because donor funding is detailed transactions and being able to report on that fast. The luxury of being able to sit in front of a PC and do daily timesheet entry or daily expense entry is not often available to them. So this is now where we start to invoke their mobile app.
Awesome.
Can I just switch to phone 1, please? So here what I'm looking at is the Dynamics 365 for Finance and Operations app. I'm focused primarily in and around the project execution side of things. So I'm seeing my project timesheet entry. I'm going to select my project timesheet entry, and if I can just give you the scenario, I've landed. Okay, I found myself a taxi. I'm sitting in the taxi. I can see that I've got some cell coverage. I'm going to take advantage of that time. I'm going to go in and create a new project. Time entry. If I go new entry here, it's going to ask me for some information. Well, how many hours, Matt, did you spend on the plane? I'm going to say it was 6 hours. I'm going to drop down and I'm going to find my Nigerian market project. And then very quick, what I'm able to do is add 6 hours in less than 30 seconds. Now, I can make that granular by specifying particular activities and work breakdown structures, but I just wanted to get those hours in the system so I wouldn't forget. The next thing we'll do, and typically this is a scenario we're all used to, I'm in the taxi driver turns around and says, okay, that'll be $68.75. I'd pull out my credit card, I'd hand it to him, he'd swipe the credit card, tear off the receipt, I'd grab my wallet and try and fit it into what's already bursting with a million other receipts, right?
His normal day.
So the process that I'm going to take you through right now is how can I actually start to do expense management through the mobile app, as well as being able to record and take details of the receipt process. So here I'm going to go into my expense management. I'm going to do an expense entry. I'm going to pull up my expense header, and I'm going to do a new expense report. I'm going to say this is a taxi. So by scrolling down there, I'll just try that again. Scrolling down here to my category, I'm going to tell it this is the transaction date that I'm actually processing that through. We'll just leave it default to today. I'm going to put in my amount of $68.75. Maybe not 6,000. I'm going to do this in USD currency because we want, our company policy is everything is in US dollars. I'm going to attach this to a particular project. There's my Nigerian markets project. I'm going to say, yeah, this is billable. I'm then going to go done. So instantly now, what you'll see is my $68.75 expense there. I'm going to click on that. And in this instance, I'm going to add the receipt. You'll notice now that I get the provision to be able to take a photo. So I'm just going to zoom in here on this taxi receipt that I already have. I'm going to use it. I'm going to give it a name. I could then go through and press done. That now has saved that particular expense receipt to that expense transaction. I've now got the ability to go in and submit for approval if my workflow was such invoked. So instantly there, what we've seen is the process of being able to use the application. And the concept and the idea here is we're moving away from the navigation through a menu structure. So instead of having to find something buried deep within an application, I'm presenting some analytics. I'm making it intuitive by clicking through down to the detail. And I'm taking advantage of some of the mobile capabilities to be able to process transactions.
Thank you, Matt. I think we put him through the paces doing a lot of demos today. I think one of the beautiful things a lot of us can relate to is trying to save off receipts. How many of you save off receipts still? Quite a few, right? So get on Dynamics 365 and start image capture now. So that's my sales pitch. I'm not very good at it, as you can see. Coming back to the same theme of use what you need to, I think Chemonics is on the journey of being project accounting driven. So basically all the way from time entry, expense capture, basically goes into project-based execution, goes into project accounting, and flows into their financials, showing them information as they need it along the way. So they don't have, their analytics is current. We've got in-memory BI that basically brings together information that Eric needs at any point in time on any project so that they can be compliant, they can share information with their donors, and not only that, using the talent set of apps, have the best employees possible engaging employees that can empower and truly make Chemonics a great place. So with that, there's a couple of things I want to share. Our analytics across Dynamics 365 spans business processes. So you will see us talk about digital transformation. And in this particular case, this is an analytics dashboard that spans the prospect to cash flow across the sales app, across operations, and some portions of it is even our customer service apps. I showed one of the dashboards that we modeled for Eric as an executive at Chemonics. If you're using other parts, whether it be inbound logistics, whether it be our supply chain, whether it be our manufacturing, as an executive dashboard with drill downs, you have the ability to configure something like this that basically crosses the whole value chain, including human resources, financials, and gives you one single dashboard across your enterprise, across multiple data sources. So just to summarize what you saw, the theme of digital transformation leads to these three products, and these three applications have sub-applications that you're able to consume. We saw different customers today that are using different piece parts. So just want to summarize the feature function, the capability that we have that's easily configurable, usable when you need, and as your organization needs grow, you just turn on the new module, you configure it, the data lights up from the previous usage that you have, and then things start to gel together. The other part I want to add is not only do we provide, we are cloud first, like Satya talked about, but we provide you additional options. We provide you the ability to have hybrid deployments. Oftentimes, you might be in a manufacturing location in a rural area of the world that does not have good network connectivity. Sometimes does not have good electricity, like Eric talked about. So the ability for you to have local appliance-like devices, we call them appliances on the edge, that federate to the cloud, the ability for you to scale out, having different manufacturing locations running independent of each other, yet have central visibility in the cloud, that is an option we provide. We also provide for customers who are in regions that do not have cloud as a policy, or enterprises that do not have cloud as a policy, these apps, at least the finance and operations apps, have the ability to run locally. A retail store, if they are running in a location that does not have good internet connectivity, can run independent of the cloud and connect to the cloud as needed. So in summary, I want to call out to 3 links today. Our Dynamics 365 homepage, anything is aka.ms. We have a very agile approach to how we engineer. Our roadmap sites are updated every month. So what we work on is transparently available to you. So you're able to go to the site. There is no password credentials required. You can drill down on the specific app, know exactly what we are working on, and every month you get an update on what we've finished up. Not only that, you can go into our ideas forum and provide feedback, rate, rank, vote against our backlog, and help educate us on what we should be working on. So we look forward to that journey with you. And with that, I want to thank you and close this session. Thank you.